And we're taking up this petition from Ms. Mendelson against her neighbor, Mr. Jackson. I am aware of that previous order that was issued on behalf of Mr. Jackson against the Mendelsons back in April, I think it was. And I did review that. It was referred to in the petition, I believe, and I reviewed that and the substance of that. So the court knows this from at least the beginning to end here with this court. So in this petition then, let me ask Ms. Mendelson, anything you'd like to add here, focusing on what?
I would just like to start out by saying there is a restraining order in place against my husband, and there is a history here. I think it's very unfortunate that we can't act like adults and coexist. I have had some previous life experiences, and I had a fiance pass away, and it puts life in a different perspective, and I value and cherish every single day. And I also think that people are important and that they should be treated accordingly. I'm super passive, non-confrontational. I am the peacekeeper of everyone in my world. And from the beginning of our building project, the Jacksons have provoked us, antagonized us, harassed us. They've harassed the construction crews. I have a list here of things that Mr. Jackson has told different crews.
So we need to kind of focus in here.
Yeah,
a lot of that was already heard. And I want to hear, I actually have questions for you of this petition in particular. I'd like to see if maybe that'll help direct you. But yeah. So you say, quote unquote, that Mr. Jackson stalks the property line. What does that mean? Stalk is a legal term, but to you, what does that mean?
You could use the term watches or walks up and down the property line. They don't seem to be outdoor people, but it seems like when I'm outside, he's outside. If I'm in the front of the property, he's in the front of the property. When I go to the back of the property, he's at the back of the property. And it's very uncomfortable. He has a chair out there. Before we built our fence, he used to sit in that chair and just watch whoever was outside at our property. And granted, our property is next to his driveway. Some of it can't be, you can't help it. Mm-hmm. But for example, we have a young lady that my son is dating just a couple of days ago. I don't know, within the last week. She came into the house and she said, "Who is that guy next door?" He stared at me and even made eye contact with me, and it freaked me out. She has absolutely no history of what's going on between the two of us. So he unnerved her, and she's just a complete stranger to this whole situation.
So where do you see him when you say he's
in his driveway? For her, he was in his driveway, and there's a portion, our property is 2 acres in length, and so we didn't fence the whole thing. We can't, so that it's fenced like right by our front door. But there's parking in the front of the property and at the back of the property that's not fenced, and that he can see over and we can see over.
And so that portion from the driveway, is that you can describe better. So where is he? Tell me where he's been when you were disturbed by his watching.
Well, before the fence was installed, our house sits where his workshop sits. It's kind of diagonal, and his driveway is in between. So he would sit there, be there, and watch. He also has a mobile home that's parked up against the property line from day one of construction that hasn't been moved, that overlooks our backyard, which we then built a higher fence because it's uncomfortable. Our master bedroom is right there, and our backyard is right there. Our kids sit out there, and he can get in that motorhome and look out the window and see anything and everything. There's a trail that goes along the property line, and he, he's on that trail quite a bit, and he'll blow all of the leaves over onto our property. I mean, the list just.
So that's not a public trail?
No, it's a private trail, and it's his trail.
Okay.
And it's right against the property line. And I understand that, they've lived there 33 years, and she says they've never had a problem. There is a previous lawsuit over the property line with the previous owner of our land. You know, we've never had any issues with anyone.
Let me ask you about this allegation about shooting at your dogs.
Yeah.
Can you tell me?
The night before, we were out at our chicken coop, and we did build a fence, and there's just a little portion, maybe this wide, that wasn't finished between the well house and where our chicken coop is. And we had all three of our dogs out there, and we were just out there, messing with the chickens. And Mrs. Jackson was walking her dog down her driveway. And one of our dogs went and attacked their dog.
And attacked means what?
They got in a fight.
Did they bite and scratch?
Yes, they
Any
did.
of the dogs injured?
No, mine wasn't. And I did apologize to her. I got my dog. I took all of our dogs back inside. And we've since, I have the supplies to build the fence back. I have,
So you said there was shooting at your dog, that Mr. Jackson shot at your
That was the
dog.
next day. We
Okay.
were out at the chicken coop again. I have a sick chicken, so we were out at the chicken coop, and he was riding his bicycle up and down the driveway, which he does when we're outside. And I saw him go back towards the house, and then I heard shooting. And our dogs, I had put them out on the back patio that day because the cleaning people were there. And so I could hear these shots, and I was like, oh my gosh, he's shooting. And so my husband and I ran inside to the house, and I have my handgun license, and I'm not very.
So why did you think
Because
they were shooting at your dogs?
In retaliation from the night before from the dog fight.
Okay, so your dogs are on the back patio,
Mhm.
and
They're barking.
Are they restrained or not, or what?
Yeah, we have, the back patio is enclosed. It's on
Okay.
the second floor. It's not
Oh,
ground
right.
level.
So they're in an enclosure.
Yeah, they can.
And
And they are barking, and it is annoying.
but you're hearing shots.
Yes, and so we ran out to the patio, and I can't see him, but he's close enough. I can feel it. He's super close. So I get the dogs inside. I call 911. And up until this point, honestly, I mean, all of this is just so ridiculous. But I was terrified. The message has been sent. And I think that it's escalated to the point of I'm afraid. I'm afraid for my family. I'm afraid for me. I'm afraid to be outside. I'm afraid for my kids. I'm afraid that, something's going to happen between him and my husband. And, throughout all this history, she says my husband is very verbal and he's ugly. She's verbal and she's ugly. And every time there's been some sort of an incident, it's because of an action from them. Yes, my husband has talked back to them, but it's because they have done something to provoke us. He can't stay off of our property, still to this day.
So you're saying he's coming onto your property?
He is coming onto our property
In
on
what
multiple
way?
occasions. And there's a statement in the last court date. The security guy, ironically enough, that's the day that we had the first confrontation. He was on our driveway at the well house, and as soon as
Do you share a well?
no,
No. Okay.
mm-mm. No, he was
So,
on our property in
Let
our
me step
driveway.
you back because I still need an answer here. So shooting at your dog, you
Yes.
believe that you were listening to the shooting and that put you in fear because of the previous day's events.
Yes.
Okay, but did you ever see Mr. Jackson with a firearm
Haven't
at your?
I've seen him with a firearm.
Well, no, but this
but not
situation in
that day.
particular.
No, but I'm telling
Okay.
you, I was standing there, and when I called 911, the operator said I can hear the gunshots.
Right.
I could not see him, but it's treed. You can't see.
And
impossible.
All right. And this is an area that you are allowed
Yes.
to
And
use
their defense the
firearms.
last time, and probably is going to be this time, they're allowed to shoot on their property, and they are. But is it a coincidence that the first time he shot was on the court date where they got granted the restraining order? They came home that afternoon and shot their guns. And then this time, the night before, our dogs get in a fight, and now he's shooting his gun again. Our dogs are barking, and he's shooting his gun again.
How often do you think you hear that?
The guns?
Yeah.
I've heard it 3 times total since we've lived in that house, and twice there was an incident.
And
Before.
you've been there since when?
We've lived there almost a year,
Okay.
which is the scary part to me. It's always in retaliation when you hear the gun shots.
So you say that Mr. Jackson's coming onto your property. Can you
Yes.
describe when
He-
that
He
happened?
did it again after the dog fight. He put up a bunch of tree logs against our fence on our property where that gap is in the fence. Well, it's not his property to do that. I understand what he did.
Is this the disputed area?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no, it's not
No?
disputed area. It's our
Okay.
property. And he puts no trespassing signs on our trees on our property.
And when did all this happen?
It's happened over the course of the last year.
Okay, well, it helped me understand more
the-
recently that other issue was, the order was issued sometime in April, I believe it was.
April
So since
3rd.
April,
Mhm,
what's been
mhm.
since April?
There's April 14th, he was back on our property again. I kept a log for a little bit of his actions. And then I just decided it's just, I don't want to live this way. Like, it's consuming too much of my time. And he told a contractor that he was going to make it as miserable as possible for us to live there.
So on the 14th of April, you assert he came onto your property and described what that
He
means.
was putting no trespassing signs again on our trees, multiple trees. And on April 3rd, after the court date, Adam, my son, had to ask him to leave the property again
What portion of the property then, and what did he do?
by the well house. Again, he was out there. I don't know what he was doing, neither does Adam, but Adam just saw him, on our side of the property and asked him to get off of our property again.
All right.
And
Any
he
other
just seems to have a
situations?
problem with it.
So we got April 3rd, April 14, any other?
No, well, September 18th or 19th, after the dog fight, he put the logs back up against the fence. And like I
Your
said,
fence?
yeah, our
Okay.
fence.
And
I'm not confrontational, and I just really don't want any of this, but, after the gunshots,
so the logs against your fence on
Mhm.
his side of the property, you're saying that's your
our side of the
property?
property, it's on
So-
our property.
Okay, so the side of the fence that you look at from your property, that's where the logs ended up?
Yes, and our fence is not 100% on the property line. It's about a foot before you get to his
Okay.
property. So there's some space in between the fence and his property, or the property line
And the logs went,
on our side.
okay, so around the fence and then on your side that you're looking at them and at your fence and you're standing on your property?
Correct.
Okay, all right. So you had to have entered your property to bring
Yes.
those there. That's what
Yes.
you're asserting. Okay.
Someone turned us in, and I say someone in quotation marks. We built a little pathway to the water, to the sound. And shortly after there, got a notice, someone turned us in for doing that. They had to take pictures to do that. And I know none of the other neighbors would have done that. So I'm assuming that the Jacksons were once again on our property to take pictures to turn us in for another, no one else would have known we did that because of the way we did it. You can't even see the path from the water. He's the only one that could probably see the path that was built. The other neighbors on the other side of us never go outside. So they would never know.
Well,
So I know.
yeah, supposition that I can't really
Yes.
consider at all.
I understand that. I just feel like he's antagonized, provoked, picked at us since day one. And I've tried to, just ignore it and go about our business and live our life. But the gunshots that day, I was terrified. Terrified.
So he, Mr. Jackson, sent in an email of his statement.
Mhm.
Anything you want to comment there?
I haven't seen his statement.
Okay, that's in the court file. Everybody's available to go. It's just one page.
Mhm.
Hi, Jason. Do you mind printing that out? It's defendant statement in the court file. We'll just hand it to you. But yeah, the expectation is everybody prepare and look into the court file and see what's been filed. But this is just one page. I'll give that to you to review. And then if there's anything you want to say, so
Okay.
we'll just take a pause right now.
Okay. Would you like me to reply?
Sure. Anything you'd like to say
Um,
about that?
Yeah, I would. He's talking about our dogs, and it was two separate dogs, two different dogs,
Mhm.
two different dog fights. The first one was before we built the fence. And the second one, obviously, the dog got through. We don't leave them unattended. They're always out with me. I have had them on a leash most of the time. We don't always have them on a leash. We live on a big property, and the evening we were out, we took our dogs out to the chicken coop and just having some family time. I do feel bad about it. And since that incident, we have got the shock collars and put that all in place, and they now have those on. It's not that I'm not acknowledging that. As far as their dog, I watched their dog repeatedly attack the neighbor's dog while we were building our home. Even took the neighbor dog.
Your situation with Mr. Jackson, not the other neighbors.
Well, I took the neighbor's dog to the vet because there was so much damage.
But have you had anything from Mr. Jackson purposefully or intentionally or negligently bringing his dogs to your property and anything of that nature?
Not since we moved in.
Okay.
But before that, yes. I mean, his dog crossed our property every single day to attack the other dog. And a lot of those attacks happened on my property. I just happened to be there. And the one day it was like the other dog was completely torn up. I took it to the vet
So
because
again,
the neighbors
your
weren't
neighbor can go
I
down the road
understand,
there,
but
but I'm
there's
glad
not-
to
there's
hear
a
that since you
history
moved
there.
in,
Their
it
dog
hasn't
is not, you know. And as far as I knew that they were going to say they have a target. And once again, I've heard the gunshots 3 times, 3 different occasions. 2 of those occasions were, the first one was on April 3rd, the day they got the restraining order that afternoon when we got home, making a point to us. And the second time was the day that I'm saying September 19th, you know, in retaliation from the night before. So they claim that they're target practicing, but it's funny, we never hear that I've never heard that any other day. He's sending a message. So hopefully, you know, I have the dogs under control. It's not that I'm this terrible person and don't care. And then last but not least, you know, I would just like to say, when we bought that property, it was completely treed. We had no idea that our house was going to be as close to the property line as it was. It's not like we built a house next to their home. We built it next to their workshop. This is a free country, and I mean, that is our property, and we're within the restrictions, the laws of building our home. And I'm sorry if it bothers them that they have a neighbor after 33 years. It's unfortunate for them, I guess. But they don't have to be so nasty all the time. It's just not necessary. And they've been nasty from day one. Their actions are very clear. They speak volumes. Parking 2 mobile homes, a car, and an ATV against the property line when the construction crew comes the day of, it just speaks volumes. And their actions, everything that's happened between us is in response to their actions, not ours. We're not provoking them. We're just trying to exist. So, and it's like I said, I could deal with all of it. I'm a passive person. I don't like whatever. You do you. If you want to spend every day trying to make me miserable, fine. Until the gunshots. The second time, I can't deal with that. And I'm not moving. I'm afraid and I'm terrified and I don't like it. But I'm not going anywhere. We built that home to retire in. So we're not going anywhere. We're going to be there. It's just unfortunate that it has to be this way. It's just, I've just never really experienced anything like it in my life.
All right. And then, so 3 times in a year, and it looks like that's supported by Mr. Jackson's statement here. We'll hear more from Mr. Jackson soon, but have you taken the occasion to shoot on your property?
No.
Okay.
And we could, but I just don't think it's responsible. There's, you know, kids on the other side of us and everyone has dogs, and it's just, we're all too close to be shooting on our properties at this point. I just think it's dangerous, and I just feel like this whole situation is escalating to no return. And
it's the thing up until then, and then all of a sudden the September 18 or 19 and April 3rd.
And if you put everything aside, everything, all of the history, the fact that he shot the gun twice as a message to me sends the message that he's not stable because he's reacting to something that has happened. So what is he going to do at some point? You know, what's next? And that's why I'm here. What's next?
So so you can't really see where he's shooting because trees are, okay. And have you had any occasion to talk with Mr. Jackson or his wife about those instances?
They never, from the very beginning, day one, he slammed the door in my face, basically. She's always made it a point to avoid us. They've never, from the very beginning, tried to be a friendly neighbor.
And of course, since that order from April 3rd, you couldn't have talked to them at all about the
No, and we've
allegations,
had,
right?
you know, like the night of the dog fight, my husband was outside with me, but he can't go over there. So it left me to get the dogs, you know, to get my dog, our dog, off of, you know, their dog, because our dog wasn't on a leash. And my husband never said anything. He never did anything. He was silent.
So no discussion from you with either of them about what the shooting was about or what the intention of what that was?
No, because they don't want that. They don't want to be friendly. They've made that very apparent.
All right, so I'm trying to see if there's other questions I have of you before I turn to Mr. Jackson, but is there anything else?
It's like I said, if you put all of this to the side and you just look at the fact of when he shot his gun and why, or, you know, presume why, it just scares me to think, you know, if we have another interaction, is he capable of keeping control of himself with his firearm? Because he does carry it. And it's, you know, not a pleasant feeling. I'm an outdoor person. I work in the yard all the time. I'm home every day. And I'm home by myself a lot. And then my boys are there by themselves on occasion. And it just, you know, I didn't sleep for 2 nights after he did that. And I'm truly unnerved by all of this. So I decided, you know, I didn't want to go to all of this. I don't want to spend my time doing this, but I just feel like I have no other choice at this point. So at some point you have to stand up for yourself. So I am.
And so when you heard the shooting on April 3rd after the court hearing, what did you hear? 1 or 2 shots, a lot of shots?
Oh no, it went on for like 10 minutes.
Okay. So rapid fire shooting. All right, 10 minutes. And then on the 18th or 19th after the dogs, did you hear them?
That that went on. It started, I got the dogs in the house. I called 911. It went for a little while. Once I got the dogs in the house, when I went out to the patio, it stopped for a little bit, for a minute or two. I got the dogs in the house and I went back in the garage because I was outside, and I just sat there for a minute because I was so rattled. And then I thought, I'm going to call 911 because I don't know where he is. And I knew he was close because, like I said, I have a firearm, not very experienced with it, but I know he was close. You can feel it. You can hear it when it's close. And so I decided to call 911. And while I was on the phone with 911, she said, I can hear the gunshots. So she could hear them again. And I talked to her and she said, I'll send someone. I hung up the phone and I was still sitting in the garage, and I could hear them again, you know, maybe 10 or more rounds. And then again, there was a pause, and then again, and then they stopped. And then I never saw him again that afternoon. But I worry about my kids there when we're not home.
So when you called 911, what did you want them to do? What was your goal or your hope for that?
Well, I was afraid he was still shooting. I didn't know where he was. I didn't know what his, you know, I knew that we had.
So what did you want them to do for you?
I wanted them to come out and talk to him. I don't know. I just, like I said, I was terrified.
Make him stop shooting.
Yes, I was rattled, and I didn't know what he was doing. Like, you don't know. And it just, I literally, I wasn't functioning. I wasn't thinking. I called 911. And my husband's home. But
so you wanted it to stop then and there, but And at that point, you weren't certain if it was him. Did you discover that later?
You could tell it was him. I mean, like I said,
You couldn't see
I'm on
that.
the patio. I can't see him, but I'm on the patio and it's to the left. And that's where he lives. I can hear it. It's close enough that it's,
Well, someone on his property is shooting. And
Yeah.
so later, did you find out that it was in fact Mr. Jackson?
there's no way for me to find that out.
Law enforcement didn't advise you? All right.
No.
Okay. All right. And so going forward then, as to that shooting, I mean, I think somebody filed a police report here. If I remember, I'm just jogging my memory here. I can't remember who did. All right. And so you didn't hear back from law enforcement that day?
It was another hour and a half and they called and just said, have the gunshots stopped? I said yes. And, of course they tell me he has the right to shoot on his property because we're of our, location, which I'm aware of. And just told me if I had any, anything else happen to give them a call and they would come out.
Okay, so they didn't, to your understanding, did not come out.
No, and I feel like I've called on a couple of other occasions where I felt like he was just getting a little too close to me on our property. Not that he had come over the property line because he hasn't. And I just reported it because he makes me uncomfortable and I just wanted it on the record. And I feel like since he was granted that restraining order against my husband, that he has become more aggressive and taunting and provoking me. And I just think it needs to be acknowledged that his tactics he's not innocent. He's provoking us. He's taunting us. He's stalking me. He wants a reaction. He's not gonna, he's doing it all to provoke us.
Let me hear from Mr. Jackson. I've read your statement that you filed that we shared with Ms. Mendelson. Let me open that up again. Anything else?
You want me to respond to what I'm hearing?
That's what I'm asking you to do.
Okay, yeah. My biggest issue is we were swore under oath to tell the truth.
Tell me what you know, rather than, I want to know from you what happened to this petition, your statement. So
she has no facts. She doesn't support it. She makes stuff up, just says things isn't right.
So what happened on April 3rd? What happened on April 3rd after the event? There's this allegation that she heard shooting that day. What do you know?
The shooting occurred before the court case because it was brought up in that court case.
All right.
And it wasn't in retaliation. I've always shot at a target. I've got a 25-foot pistol target that I've shot at for the past 30 years. Lots of the neighbors also shoot as well. She did mention that either her or her husband fired 2 rounds down her property line.
I'm talking about you right now, and I'm talking about, I understand, we're not lobbing things from ago. And so you're saying that April 3rd actually was before the hearing where the court issued an order against Mr. Mendelson on your behalf.
And that was because he put a gun in my face.
And so slow down. We've already heard all that. We're not lobbing things back and forth. We're concentrating on since April 3rd. Let's not go backwards.
Okay.
All right.
All I am doing is going up and down my property like I've always done. I have the houses down below. I have big garages next to her house. I have all my tools and everything in there. So I go up there as often as possible to work there. Turn the radio on and I work there. She says I'm stalking her. I'm looking at her, whatever. I'm on my property. They built their house right to the line. I'm just accessing my property like I've always done. She claims I'm going on their property. At no point has she produced any evidence that I've been on her property, that I've stalked her, that I've threatened her, or I've done anything to her. Then she goes to a judge and makes stuff up. And I'm sitting there saying,
tell me about September 18, 19 there. Apparently their dogs attacked your dog. And then the next day.
I wasn't even there. My wife was walking the dog.
So after that, the next day, the allegation is that there's more shooting from your property. What do you know about that, if anything?
Yes, I was target practicing the next day.
Okay.
We had 2 instances of their dog coming across the line.
I know, I've heard that. I want to hear about the 19th. And you say you were target practicing, as you put in your statement here.
Yes.
All right.
I fired all rounds at the target. There's no intention. All I was doing is I felt that if we're going to be continually attacked by your dog and not doing anything, I want to be able to defend ourselves. So I'm practicing at shooting at my target. That's the only thing I was doing. I didn't point any guns. I didn't display any guns. I didn't do anything to anybody. I just shot at my target like I've done many, many years.
3 times in the last year, the Mendelson said they've heard it.
Well, there's other neighbors that are also firing. And I've only shot twice because the first time they mentioned it. So I said, they don't like us shooting, so I'm not going to shoot. So I haven't shot since. that court case happened because I heard that, because I was trying to respect them. But then when they're not even handling their dog and they're letting their dogs loose, attacking my wife and dog, they don't really care. They don't do anything. Then I put logs up to keep their animals over there. Then they throw them off because they don't want them on the fence.
So in order to put those logs there, do you agree with where they were, where we've heard from Ms. Mendelson where they were?
No, I didn't.
No.
I have no contact with them at all.
Well, what we heard today is that they were on her side of their fence. The logs were.
The logs were never on her side of the fence. The logs are where I put them before. One of the top logs was touching the fence. He pushed it off. So all I did was straighten it back out, put it right there.
So help me understand. When I talked to Ms. Mendelson, she said when she's standing on her property looking at her fence, she can see these logs. So you're saying,
no, she can't.
Okay, so how's that your property?
No, because the fence stops here and there's a gap in the fence.
That area.
And there's stakes where the property line is. They put the stakes from the surveyors all along the line, which I agree 100% with.
Okay.
And that's why the picture I sent, you can kind of see all the stuff they have on it. There's the gaps are there. And the trees are on my property. You can see the stakes right below on the ground, and they've leaned all their material against the trees just to aggravate me. So
talk about the fence and the log placement on the fence. So you're saying, where were those logs in relationship to that fence?
They're today they're in the same place they were when I put them there.
So when you're standing on your property looking at that fence, do you see the logs?
Yes, because it's in the gap. It's covering the gap. Okay. What I did is I put the logs in the gap so their dog couldn't come through anymore. Because that's where the dog was shooting through, was that gap there. So I tried to put some logs in there so the dog wouldn't come through anymore. We have a wedding coming up. All our grandkids are coming to the house. We fear for them walking the property because they don't contain their animals.
All right. Well, you've heard, at least from Ms. Mendelson today, that she's now gotten would you call it an invisible fence, that program? All right. And so what she's saying is they've worked to create this invisible fence, the shock collar for the dogs. You say that you heard them on April 3rd that they didn't like the shooting, so you didn't do that until the 19th because then you felt like you needed to practice in case a dog came around again.
And we called the sheriffs on the dogs, trying to get the dogs off our property.
Did they respond?
Sheriffs did, yeah. They said to make note, document it.
So they came out? That's what I'm asking.
No, they did come out and talk to them, yes.
So anything else in your statement, Mr. Jackson? Anything else?
I just wanted to be truthful. We're just trying to live out there. We've lived out for 33 years. We know all the neighbors out there. The neighbors are friends of ours. We know all of them. We can get them to give supporting statements as well if we need to go that route. Because what we want to do is we just want to live out there peacefully and not be in fear of them putting a gun in my face or their dogs attacking us. They cut our trees. They're doing things. They say we want to be on their property. I have no desire. They bought a 60-foot strip.
So we're just ramping this up and making, poking at each other now. And I'm just going to stop that because that's not what this is about.
No.
And for whatever reason, the Mendelsons and the Jacksons cannot live next door to each other quietly. Anything else about these allegations in this petition and in your response? Not throwing logs back and forth and going back the last year. Anything about this petition and your statement here?
The only thing I would say is that we need to be truthful, and I feel like she's making things up because she's trying to retaliate. She even just admitted, a little bit ago, I shot her at her patio. Then she says her patio's enclosed and her second deck is enclosed. You'd know if I'm shooting at your patio. Most people would know when you're bringing statements forward like that.
I don't find that either of you lying. I think looking at your statement, Mr. Mendelson, and I think I've heard enough today from both of you, you really do agree here. In the substance here, other than the intention. Ms. Mendelson and Mr. Jackson, you both look at each other as the devil now. And everything somebody does is malicious, meant to harm the other. You can't even see each other any longer. These two sides, I think y'all agree what's going on. You just can't get along, and I don't know why. The issues here are frustrating for both sides, for the court. For Ms. Mendelson, you've heard how frightened she is. I've heard that you're frightened. But again, both of you have now created and inflated each other into the devil for some reason, as opposed to just neighbors. I would heartily suggest that you contact Dispute Resolution Center. They have been working in this county for decades. They come and settle disputes in neighborhoods. They settle disputes in small claims. They come here every week on small claims, and I've had people hollering at each other, calling names. Dispute Resolution Center helps them solve their problem, and they come to an agreement. It's amazing what they've been able to do to help this community and people in it. And if the Mendelsons are choosing to retire here, you're going to have them on the other side of that line for a long time. I don't see you tipping over anytime soon either, so you're going to be here a while. And wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be nice if you have this family wedding going on, and whether you invite them or not, you can wave and say, hey, isn't it great? Somebody's getting married. Have a good day. But for whatever reason, this has become awful. I mean, I can see several reasons. Neither one of you is willing to see the other as a human being anymore. So these allegations, I have to find under the law, the way the law is defined, and with evidence that can be tested. And I can't find that. I can hear Ms. Mendelson's fear. I can hear Mr. Jackson's fear. But there isn't a basis under this petition to issue this order, Ms. Mendelson, against Mr. Jackson. There is still an order, unfortunately, with Mr. Jackson has against Mr. Mendelson. So of course, everyone's going to have to follow that. And if there continues to be any property line issues, this isn't the court that can resolve any of that. I don't know if there is, but Dispute Resolution Center, look them up, call them up. You don't even have to talk to each other right away, but they can help you. And they truly do this day in and day out for decades in this county. They do good work. And that's just one avenue, unless you all can find somebody that you all agree on that can help you talk. I can't imagine wanting to have this go on for 30 more years, you know? And so I really suggest heartily that you find a way rather than sit in this ugliness for so long.
Your Honor, I agree with you,
So-
but when you have a gun pointed in your
So
face.
those
they
are the
deny it.
recommendations of the
It's
court.
hard.
Dispute Resolution Center is a
That's
good
not
idea.
true.
So I'm not going to have you talking to each other and ramping it up again. Stop it. Both of you, stop and find a way, maybe you hire somebody who's a trusted third party. Maybe you go to Dispute Resolution Center, a nonprofit. Maybe you find somebody who can help you get this out of your systems and find a way to be neighbors, you know, because you're going to be neighbors for decades. And there just isn't a basis here, as I've said, for unlawful harassment. But you've heard. I mean, this court can't fix this problem. You can. And there should be some hope that you can do that. And there's some avenues and some agencies that can help you. So please look into it and be open to fixing this. I just can't imagine wanting to sit around for the next 30 years like this. So please try and find a solution. And that's one solution. So I'm writing up an order here that denies the request of Ms. Mendelson against Mr. Jackson. Everything stays the same with the previous order that was issued.
5, and that's
that's-
just it.
that's
Were
it for today.
you unable to get notice to Ms. Archer of today's
They
hearing?
said they served her. The prosecuting attorney's office from Olympia Police called and told me they served her. So she should have been, if she wanted to come, I don't know if they make you come or I don't know. But she was in Nisqually jail as far as I knew.
Let me look in the court file here.
We received return of service.
Just got that. She served on the 29th, which is Saturday. No, Friday. So what we're gonna do here is we see that she's been served.
They called me after they served her. It was last week sometime because
I
I called,
understand.
I
I've
said
got
I
the
have to
pr-
come
stop.
Monday.
I've got the proof of service.
All right.
I see that she's been served, is what I said. So, is there some, you said you're working with the Olympia court as well?
Somewhat.
You're working with the Olympia court as well? You mentioned the prosecutors there.
They filed assault charges against her and I can go to court this afternoon at 2, but I'm not gonna because I don't want to go. They said I don't have to. But they filed assault charges. She broke my phone. She shoved me down. There was a
And just
witness.
stop. I'm not asking
Okay.
all those
All right.
questions. I'm
I
just
will.
asking one question. Answer that question if you would. So I see that the Olympia Municipal Court has issued an order protecting you from Ms. Carlisle. Did you realize that?
Yeah, but they told me to come and get this one anyway. I don't know.
Well,
why.
it's up to you what you want to do, but
Okay.
at this stage, you've got an order covering you by the Olympia case. Now,
It's only
that's all
good for 2
dependent,
years.
that's all dependent on that case and what happens with that. And if there is a conviction or a plea of guilt, then that order can continue for as long as 2 years. And I'm concerned that, so Ms. Archer is unable to get herself here because she's incarcerated. She's been served, but she is beholden to Nisqually to make sure that that happens. And I can't make and since it was just Friday and this is Monday, that's difficult. The court can't really make a finding and make a default decision here. And I don't know how long she's going to be in custody there. But so at least you've got an order out of Olympia, is what I'm telling you. So that's protecting you. And so you understand that, and you should probably get a copy of it if you don't have a copy of
They
it.
said I'd get one today and I haven't
Okay.
gotten anything. I didn't get a return of service or anything. I had
Talk
to
to
call them.
them, talk to them. They would have served her while she was in custody, and talk to them about that and get a copy. There's a crime victim advocacy program at the City of Olympia. Contact them and they will help you.
When I called, they said that I'd get it up here today, but I don't know. So
We don't
is this continued then?
do the City of Olympia. This is not the City of Olympia. So that's a little confusing. So the City of Olympia has charged a crime against Ms. Carlisle.
I mean, Ms. Archer. And so that is a whole separate animal. They and that judge have issued an order protecting you from Ms. Archer. And that goes on separately from this, has nothing to do. We do not provide you information from that. We do not provide you documents from that, nothing. So that's why you got to go to the City of Olympia Prosecutor's Office, their crime victim advocacy program. That's who you'll look to for information about that case, not here. So just keep that aware. That's confusing for most people, but the Olympia case, that's all about Olympia. This court doesn't deal with that. All right. So this is set because you filed a petition. You're covered by an order in Olympia. I'm trying to figure out what to do here because I can't really find that Ms. Archer has decided not to be here because she doesn't have control because she's in custody. And we haven't heard from Nisqually. So what I'd like to try and do, are you able to be in touch with Nisqually, or do they don't have a release date? It's just probably bond, I'm guessing.
Yeah, and
Trying to figure out if we can set a date.
But she's still currently in custody.
Let's see, I'm trying to, it looks like it's a small amount of bail. 2,500. So they have a hearing today at 2. I'm trying to figure out if we can't set this, but also get her notice. What we're gonna, yeah, and allow Zoom, because they do that all the time, every day, day in and day out with the district court. So how about we do this? So Ms. Carlisle, I can't make a finding in default and issue an order here, but I'm gonna set a hearing. We're going to contact Nisqually facility, corrections facility, and try and have this next Monday, have them provide her by at least Zoom by next Monday is what
Okay.
I'm hoping.
I can come back.
Right. And you don't have to be in person. You can come by Zoom.
No, I'll just come back.
Okay. The court here is going to try and contact Nisqually and see if we can have her presented. If she's no longer in custody, then at very least, if we can, got to get her notice for the 16th. So if we can get her a court notice for the 16th as well,
Yes,
served on her.
I'm gonna just send them the service packet. to have them serve it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Then she- double check.
All right.
Sorry, I'm
expect
so
a-
confused.
Well, no, it's not. It is confusing for folks who don't do this day in and day out. But just remember, anything concerning that Olympia criminal charge, you talk to the Olympia prosecutor's office. And it sounds like you got their number, so that's
I'll just go
good.
by there today since I don't know what's going on.
There's a 2:00 hearing in the City of Olympia Court. If you want to be there, you can be there. She'll be on, I don't know if they do, I think they do video court, so she would be on video from Nisqually Jail. And you could just sit in the back and watch, because just like this, it's a public forum.
Okay.
And then you can be in
Hello.
there. There you are. And is it Roop or Rupee? How shall I pronounce your name?
Rupi.
Rupee. All right, thank you. And then let's see, Mr. Jepson, you're here on behalf of Jimmy Longino.
Yes, correct.
And I have your client here as well, Mr. Longino.
Yes.
And can you give us a visual, Mr. Longino? There you go. This order's been in effect, and there's a request from Ms. Rupee that there be an amendment. There's a motion to modify this order and add a condition. And this order was issued before the law changed. And so now, actually, the law reflects this request in the new orders. But Mr. Jepson, have you had a chance to review that motion?
I have had a chance to review it.
Okay, so on behalf of Mr. Longino, Mr. Jepson, are you prepared to respond to that today?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So, and I'm looking to another screen here because that's where everything is electronically. So just give me a motion to moment to open that up so that I can recall here what our issues are. So, Ms. Rupee, you're asking, let's see, that there be a
a change to this order, continue the order, but say, no contact through others or through social media. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, and that's the sum total of your motion?
Yes, when we initially requested this, I have actually requested that in the very beginning, so in 2022. And I thought that was already in place. There were several contacts that was done in 2022, which we forwarded to the sheriff, and there weren't any questions. Beginning March of 2023, the sheriff said, you have to add this, that he can't have any contact with third parties. During the pretrial of April, I had bring that up and the judge said, oh, it's there. But then when Jimmy tried to connect again and I talked to the sheriff and then they said, no, it's not there. We can't see it. So they can't create a case because the third party, contacting the third party is not on the restraining order. And we wanted this to be in effect because Alex is in college and she ended up deactivating her social media account because she's still being followed by Jimmy. And she ended up, this generation relies on social media to connect with friends. So now because she deactivated her account, she is going through hardship because she's isolating herself from her friends. And she lives on, she's in a dorm, so she needs that friends to help her go with college and to just go through it. And he just needs to stop.
So this was renewed by Judge Pro Tem Conan on May 22nd, 23 to go through May 22nd and 24, it appears. And all right. So Mr. Jepson, on behalf of your client, any objection or what should I know?
I suppose if the order does not already, I don't have an objection to it prohibiting third-party contact. I don't necessarily have an objection to it spelling out that he's not to follow her on social media, but I don't think, I mean, reading Rupi's motion here, I suspect what has happened is that this wasn't a case of third-party contact, and that's why law enforcement told her that they're not doing anything about it. I mean, the allegation in writing is that Mr. Longino liked someone else's post on Instagram, not the protected party's post, and did not ask anyone to have contact with the protected party, did not ask anyone to effectuate third-party contact. And so insofar as that is the allegation, I don't believe he's done anything wrong here. He knows he's not to have contact with her. He knows he's not others to have contact with her. So if the court wants to modify the language for express no third-party contact, that's fine. If the court wants to include don't follow her on social media, that's fine. But I think any further modification is necessary. I'd also point out that at our last hearing, the reason that this is limited is because the protected party either is or is 18, and the court instructed that she would need to seek further renewal of this order should she feel it is necessary. So with that.
Right. Well, it sounds like there's somewhat of an agreement that the court can do. Can I have an order to look at the language? Because there are some limitations, obviously, that the court is bound by the Constitution and the First Amendment. And so I am going to make an order that Mr. Longino, that you not contact anyone involved in this order, the two kids and the adults, through others, through third parties. Don't follow any of them on social media. And that's what I'll dictate. But, you know, Ms. Rupi, you've kind of hit the rub there. It's folks are on social media and it's hard to limit and not run afoul of First Amendment rights, writing orders that you can't use social media at all, you know, but I can make an order here that says that Mr. Longino is not to follow your daughter nor you, the other child, through social media. If there are, and
May
I'll
I say something,
in
John?
particular. Yes?
So one of the person that Jimmy is following is her college friend. So what's going to happen with that? And this is a cycle. She would she would block him, and then he'll create a new account, follow the person again, block, create a new account, repeat, and rinse. And this is one of her friends that she just met in college. So now they're no longer be able to talk through social media because he's going to start following, and finally he would figure out where she is, what she's doing through social media because they post those stuff. So I'm requesting that he doesn't follow her friends, because the friends will now be also disturbed that this guy is following her, and it just starts to increase. One friend he follows one friend, and he follows another one, and by the time he's going to know all her friends in college, which they don't want Jimmy there. They don't want him. So in order for her to stop him following, she ended up cutting her social media, which is not fair for her, because that's the way they go through school. And she should not have to go through hardship. Jimmy just needs to really stop following or trying to connect with her friends that he does not know from high school.
So what I can do, again, the modern world and the ability to control people and the Constitution all kind of collide here in the limiting the courts and also giving protection to folks the courts have found need this harassment protection or protection from harassment. Mr. Longino, do not attempt to have contact, including non-physical contact, directly or indirectly, or through third parties, regardless of whether those third parties know of this order, except, of course, for the service of court documents. With all the folks here, you stay away, stay 1,000 feet away from her, and anyone protected on this order, those 4 people. So, Ms. Rupi, I can't go as far as you're asking. I can hear from adults who are feeling that they're experiencing unlawful harassment from Mr. Longino on their own petitions, and the court will review those and see. But that's the sum total of what the court can do here. And Mr. Longino, you're hearing that nobody wants any contact from you, from this family and Alexandra and John. And so you may want to talk to your attorney about what all that means. But I will sign an order, and this order is going to be renewed, same time frames. Let's see, May, let me get back to May of 22-24, May 22nd of 2024. And again, once Alexandra, if there is a request from her and she's an adult by 2024, it'll be up to her to take the reins on this, Ms. Rupi, if she feels the need.
Yes, she'll do that when she turns 18, but in the meantime, she's still a minor, and I would like to completely protect her from Jimmy, because she's now stressed out about this, about her contacting her, about Jimmy contacting her friends through social media. She's upset about it, and she's stressed about it, and she's giving me all these documents for me to file because she's upset and did not want to have to do anything with Jimmy. So I'm asking that if he is trying to find her friends, that he just needs to stop. He needs to stop lurking the social medias to find out about Alex's whatever she's doing through friends.
Well said. Let me concentrate on this order. I'll be filing an order. It will end May 22nd of 2024. Keep that in mind if there's a request for modifications or renewals. And this will be available in the court file. Just hang on a moment, all of you, while I go through this. I don't want you to leave until I've finished here. So there is a provision in the new law and reflected in these new orders that also say don't harass, follow, monitor, keep under physical or electronic surveillance, cyber harass as it's defined under 9A 9120, or use phone, video, audio, or other electronic means to record, photograph, or track locations or communication, including digital wire electronic communication. Now, this applies to the petitioners, it applies to Alexander, it applies to John Jr., but no one else. Only the folks listed in this order, but no contact through third parties or other people to get at any one of the folks protected under this order. And that's what the new law allows. And I've signed an order to that effect. That'll be in the court file. Ms. Rupi, Mr. Jepson, you can access that through your Zoom instructions, or if you'd like, you can always contact my clerks and they'll help you with that. But that includes then the third-party contact and the social media contact.
Your
I
Honor,
can't say that, I can't say, and I haven't ordered that he not have contact with other people, but he isn't to contact you or Alexander or John Jr. through others. That's what makes social media difficult.
So, Your Honor, may I say something?
Yes?
So this is really, I guess, very important for Alex, because sometime last year he had messaged her that he is going to dedicate himself to her. And I know Jimmy has been to 4 treatments this year that I know of. And I'm starting to think that the counseling treatment is not effective, because as early as March, well, the latest one was September 27, that he's trying to attempt to contact my niece or Alex's cousin. So that treatment needs to, I guess, continue, because it's not effective that I see.
All right, and I haven't ordered any kind of treatment. This court doesn't have that kind of authority. So I think, Mr. Jepson, you can advise your client what you've heard today and what all that means for your client, Mr. Longino. But Mr. Jepson, anything else?
No, not for me.
All right. Ms. Rupi, anything else?
That's it for now. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
There you
That's
go.
all for today.
Do this.
Mr. Longino,
All
Mr.
right.
Jepson,
So,
Ms. Rupi, you can be on your way. Mr. Leone, this looks like your client was served on the 18th. I'm just trying to figure when you made your way into the case, and are you
Your Honor,
ready to take this up today?
I first appeared with my client at the first return hearing in front of Commissioner Wool, and we are ready to proceed today.
Okay, great. I do see that now. And again, I'm looking to, there we go. I'm looking to my electronic files here, so I'm looking over to another screen, and let me just re-review so I remember what this is about. So Ms. Wilhelm, then, are you still asking that this order issue against Ms. Smith?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and Mr. Leone, is there an objection to this order issuing against your client?
My client is opposing the entry of the order, Your Honor.
Okay, so Ms. Wilhelm, having re-reviewed your petition here, anything that you want to talk about from that, or is there anything new that the court should consider in your request to have this order?
I think that there's not really anything new per se. It's just her actions and how she's done things have greatly hurt my business since I run my business primarily online. Her actions. What was that?
Tell me how your business has been harmed.
Baby. So I submitted the screenshots of postings that she had posted negatively about me that were false things that she had conjured up in her mind, and tagging me in it. There were 2 separate incidences. The first time I filed for a anti-harassment order.
Let me narrow in on harming your business. So how has your business been harmed? Have you lost clients? Have you lost money? What's going on?
The first time that she did this, I had to cancel a comedy show because I was spending the entire day instead of getting ready for the show and being able to run it effectively, mitigating messages from tons of people saying, who is this? Why is she posting this? What's going on? The second time she did a posting like this, I lost 2 comedy show venues, which also greatly affects my business. And then when she showed,
You mean you lost 2 shows? What do you mean? Did the people who wanted to hire you said we're not hiring you, or what?
so I produced the shows. Each venue does a monthly show with my business, and they decided amidst the turmoil of the messages and the false accusations that they did not want to pursue shows with my business anymore. So I lost 2 locations, which also definitely affects me financially.
How much would you say?
Each show I make approximately $500 on.
Okay, and so when you say that you lost 2 venues, does that mean just once or going forward?
No, going forward. So they have not done a show since, I believe, July.
Okay.
So
All right.
July, August, September, October, that's 4 months already, but they won't be doing any more in the future either. Then when she showed up at my...
wait, go back. You said they will do more in the future?
No, they said they will not.
Okay, so that's $500 a month, $1,000 a month, 2 venues that have canceled. They don't like the communications online. So you lost that. And then, and what I'm looking at here, if you can direct me to exhibits, there are a lot of exhibits. So are these, I'm not quite sure what I'm looking at. Looks like maybe text messages, Facebook posts. What are they?
So the text messages, the messages are from her that when all this began in February of this last year. And then the Facebook posts are the postings that I'm referencing to.
Okay. All right. And so the things here, April of 2022 and February of 2022 and June. And these are hand titled, I'm presuming by you. You put these dates on these exhibits?
Yes. And then in June, she also showed up at my work when I was running an event because I was working with a separate company to run a music festival. And due to her actions of causing a scene and looking for me and harassing me there, I actually lost that part-time job as well.
Okay, so you were there, you had started it, and then how did you lost it? What does that mean? You gotten paid anything for that, or?
I was.
All right.
I was an
So did
hourly.
they say we don't want you to continue through the this was at the fairgrounds? Yes. In June?
Correct.
What was the contract and how much of that contract did you lose out on?
I was an hourly employee with them, and I can't put a number on how many more hours I would have gotten that weekend, but it was $20 an hour.
Okay, so essentially you were fired.
Yes, correct.
Right, and lost out. What did you expect to be working that?
I probably would have worked another 12 to 24 hours on the second day, but then also tear down the following day.
So $20 an hour at 24 hours?
Yes.
Okay, all right. And that was the June event. And you understood you were fired. Why?
They said they didn't like just kind of they were worried about if she was going to come back because she caused a really big scene, showing up and saying that her husband, his GPS location said he was there, and asking where I was and saying that I was sleeping with a married man, and just kind of going off on a tangent. I didn't witness it. That's just, I kind of heard differing things that she said.
And Your Honor, of course, objection to this line of testimony under lack of personal knowledge. I understand this is an expedited proceeding, however.
Okay. All right. Well, this is information, Ms. Wilhelm, that the court nor Mr. Leone on behalf of his client can test. We don't have any statements from people. We don't have them present to tell us why it is that they didn't retain you for that June event.
I understand.
So that's a difficulty, and I have to weigh that with what I can consider here. So, all right. So you say she hurt your business, the June event. You believe that you lost out on at least, what would that be? 180, almost $5,000. My math is right. And then anything else?
She also made comments saying that I deserved to be raped, and that also at that time I had a pending sexual assault hearing. We just wrapped that hearing up last month, actually. She specifically went out of her way to go to the person who I was going to trial with, who is my soon-to-be ex-husband, saying that she was going to provide him a glowing character reference for him and a bad one for
Objection,
me.
lack of personal knowledge.
I have the documents, but I didn't have time to file them. But she did go out of her way. The documents did show up in our hearing.
So would you like, is that something that you want the court to review that also Mr. Leone would be allowed to review? And
I only have a paper copy from our trial exhibits from last month.
okay. And that is, what is that, a declaration of someone, or what is it?
It's screenshots of her messages going to Mr. Lindstrom to basically just try to tell him he's a good man and she doesn't deserve to be on trial for what he did.
So you didn't include those though in your exhibits. I don't see anything like that in your
No, because
exhibits.
those, I just recently got those. I'm sorry.
Okay, from last week. All right. So how did you hear of, or how do you know then through those screenshots of messages to someone else?
They
You
were
heard about this?
they were presented as exhibits in my sexual assault trial.
Okay. Against Mr. Lindstrom?
Yes.
All right. Is there any way that you could, I mean, if you wanted the court to look at those, Mr. Leone and his client looks at those as well. I don't know if you could get, and it's just one page or one or two pages?
It's a lot of pages.
Okay, all right.
And I only have a paper copy, like I said, and so it would be probably hard to do this very quickly since we're here now.
All right. All right. Is this something that you think the court, is this a big issue for you on this, that the court should review and before a further hearing? Should we reset this for you to provide your evidence?
I'm not really sure. I just think that the only reason I brought it up was to show her vindictiveness in stopping at no means to try to.
Right, but I need to have evidence that I can consider, and you know, the other side can't just be surprised with something that they can't test for credibility, authentic. You know, everyone just kind of says stuff. That's a beginning, but then corroboration. So I'm providing. You know, it's up to you if you think this is something that's important for the court to consider right now. It doesn't get a lot of weight because it can't be tested by the court nor the other side, but I would provide you a continuance to provide that. And right now there is an order in effect. That order would continue at least until that trial and give you that opportunity. Of course, it also gives I would want to give Mr. Leone an opportunity to respond to anything that you file. So Ms. Wilhelm, the question is, do we go forward today or do we reset and give you that opportunity?
I think that I do have other documents as well, as far as concerning her other domestic violence restraining order that her husband was trying to obtain. And I would like to provide those documents as well, since they're bringing into exhibits things from my divorce.
And
So tell me, Ms. What do you want to do today?
I mean, I would, as much as I would like to wrap this up, I just think that all the evidence should be brought forth. Her behavior is very concerning.
I have to tell you, just kind of off the cuff, you know, I can't prevent you from filing certain things, but off the cuff, the court is not going to find relevant from either side information of other potential orders against other people. Who knows? I don't know. It would have to be shown that they're relevant, but I got to tell you, we're going off on bird walks, and this is not to smear each other. It's about the incidents that occurred between the two of you. Maybe the court would find something relevant, you know, once having an opportunity to look at it and see what it's all about and understand it, but just off the cuff without knowing more, I'm telling you that just information that someone's had proceedings about a no contact order against or for another case with other people may not be relevant here, and the court wouldn't allow it if it wasn't relevant. Just a heads up, but I don't know because I haven't seen it and I haven't had that discussion. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to give this continuance, Mr. Leone. That also gives you an opportunity to provide whatever information otherwise and to review, both of you to review what's filed and respond. So, Mr. Leone.
Your Honor, just for the record, we are opposing the continuance. I believe that the court has a rather complete. The court has a petition and exhibits in support of that petition. It has a responsive declaration from my client, which was delivered in ample time for the petitioner here to have filed a reply. And really, I share the court's maybe a dicta here about the relevance and probative nature of anything that the petitioner is now discussing in her testimony. So I believe that we should be proceeding today. And there's really my client's being prejudiced by continuing to come back to court here when she has other duties as a working mother and of course raising her family. So we just oppose the continuance and ask that we proceed.
So the elements about the elements that Ms. Wilhelm has received from previous hearing, I think might very well be relevant, but maybe not. I don't know. I haven't seen the evidence. I can't prejudge it, but if it's just about somebody else and another order, it may not be relevant. But I leave it to Ms. Wilhelm. You need to provide whatever you think is persuasive to the court and let the court make that decision then when it has all the information in front of it. So I do believe that there is more, but this has been going on some time, so it's going to come to a decision point. We're looking at the 16th is still wide open. All right, October 16, 2 weeks from today. I'm going to give you both a deadline here.
And Your Honor, that's a trial week for me, and I'm just not confidently setting anything that week because we don't know. At readiness, we're going to be told if we go on the first half of the week or the second half of the week. So,
all right,
the 22nd looks a lot more. 23rd looks a lot more open.
Is Wilhelm October 23rd?
I believe that works.
All right, so we'll set October 23rd, 9 o'clock. And each of you then, let's see, no later than the 16th, October 16, get in whatever information you think. Actually, well, yeah, October 16th. So get in whatever information you think the court should consider. So that reissuance order and that deadline of getting all the information in by the 16th, so 2 weeks from today, is in the court file, and feel free to access it there. And all of the parties, if you have any trouble, just contact my clerks and we can get that, they can help you.